Good morning, New York Mets Nation. What is going on? And welcome to the Bat Cave. I'm your host, Ken, the Bat Fry. How is everybody's Wednesday morning going? Good? Nice and cool here in Pennsylvania right now. Had rain for a couple days, really soggy, but it took the humidity away. So that's good for everybody. Us chubbier people, we don't like the humidity. So that's good when it's gone. So a lot going on here. So let me jump into it right away. Who's in first? Mets and Braves battling for the NL East. I'm telling you, it's going to go right down to the wire. I have no doubt at all now. The Mets easier schedule than what the Braves have, but they're not taking advantage of it, and that's a huge issue. You figure they just came into a series with the Cubs. They have Bassett going 2 days ago. They had DeGrom going last night. You figure, hey, the way Bassett's been pitching, he's been lights out. 2 wins there. DeGrom, best pitcher in baseball, easily 2 wins. It has not gone that way, as you may or may not know. If you're a Mets fan, you should be watching this. It has not gone our way as of yet. But I tell you, it's with such a long season. I said it before. There's ebbs and there's flows. There's ups, there's downs. It's like a roller coaster. Adam's checking in. He said Phillies are going to play a big role in final standings with them playing Braves a lot. Absolutely, great point, Adam. The Braves play the Phillies twice coming up. One in Philly, one in Atlanta, I believe. Or vice versa, whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. And I'll tell you what, the Phillies play well against the Braves. The Phillies play well against just about everybody except for the Mets, for whatever reason that is. They're in their heads. I discussed this past shows. It's been a struggle for the Phillies against the Mets, but against all these other big bads and stuff like that, the Phillies have handled them like nothing. So that's the team that I've said in the past that scares me the most, more than the Braves, more than the Dodgers. The Phillies are worrisome because they do have very good starting pitching. They have a terrific lineup. It's their defense sucks ass against the Mets for whatever reason. And their bullpen is sometimes it looks really good. Sometimes it looks, kind of iffy. So, but the Phillies are going to play a huge role in it. The Mets and the Braves play each other the second to last series of the season also. And so I still expect it to be within a game or two, either way, Mets, Braves on top, it doesn't really matter. But it's going to come down right to the wire. It's going to be a lot of fun. I love close baseball like this. Like I said in last week's show, when you have teams like the Dodgers or the Astros, they have such a big lead. They get lazy. They're still winning and stuff like that, but they forget what it's like to really claw and grab and stuff like that for everything. They're kind of just working through the motions right now. So I'd rather my team, really have to fight for stuff and have to push themselves. Joe Sullivan checking in. Phillies look like they may play the loser of the division in round one. Should be interesting. Yeah. As of right now, the Phillies will be the 5 seed. So more than likely, it's going to end up either being the Braves or the Mets playing the Phillies. I mean, unless the Phillies have a game and a half lead up on the 6th seed. So I mean, it still could go either way there. But if it ended today, it would be the Braves playing the Mets, or the Braves playing the Phillies. I'm sorry, in a 3-game series in Atlanta. So it absolutely could go either way. I mean, if you're a Phillies fan, who do you want to play? Do you want to play the Mets, who you struggle with against all season, or do you want to play against the Braves, who you played well against? You'll handle them pretty well. I guess time will tell. We'll see how those 2 series go coming up. For the Braves and Phillies. So it's going to be interesting. And the Braves, they also have, I have it written down here, the Braves, they have the Phillies, Washington, Mets, and Miami. So the Braves have some in between there. Adam says neither. And then he says the Cardinals. I don't know if I'd want to play the Cardinals. The Cardinals have played so well the last couple months, just as well as the Braves have. I mean, the Braves have been lights out since the beginning of June. I discussed this last week. The Braves have been awesome since June 1st. Best team in baseball since June 1st. But But St. Louis, the last month and a half, 2 months, they've been right there, and they took that division by the balls and just took it away from Milwaukee. Milwaukee was sitting pretty up top for the first month and a half, almost 2 months, and they said, "Nah, not on my watch." Joe says, "Being it's been 11 years, I just want to get in." Absolutely. You know what, Joe? I feel you there. It's nice sometimes when you have a drought like that. Sometimes it's nice just to get in, and you know that you're really close. So it's like one of those things that's really nice to build on that for next season. A little bit of momentum. You're like, okay, maybe we weren't expected to be there, or the way that our season started, everybody wrote us off. But look, we made it there anyway. Stuff like that. That's stuff to build on for the Phillies. As much as I hate the Phillies, I hate the Braves more. So I don't want to see either of those teams get it, but both those teams are going to get in. I said it since I started doing this show. Both those teams will be in, and both those teams are going to wreak havoc on whoever they play. Against each other first, and whoever survives that one, either Mets, Braves, or Phillies. I pity the teams I have to face them after that. Phillies seem to match up well with St. Louis. Yeah, the thing that's the scariest thing about St. Louis is they sneak up on you. They have a terrific lineup. They have probably the MVP on the team. They have a bunch of wily veterans and stuff like that. It's just one of those teams that really sneak up on you. You don't see them come, and then all of a sudden you're down 4, 5, 6 runs, and they're starting pitching and shutting you down, and their bullpen is shutting you down. They're fast. They play smart baseball. Yes, I definitely just want to get in, absolutely. But if I had to pick the Cardinals, Joe then says he's with Adam though. He'd rather play the Cardinals. Plus the 6th seed, you avoid LA till the NLCS. I don't know. So the way they have it set up, I think the 4-5 team will play the 2 seed. And then the 3-6, the winner of the 3-6 plays the 1 seed. They don't reseed the teams, so I don't know how that's going to work. I still don't understand. Like, why don't they reseed the teams? I don't know if you guys have any idea why they wouldn't want to do that. It just seems to make sense after you go through your first round of playoffs, reseed the teams and go from there. You have your 1, you have your 2. Okay, now your 1 will play your 6. You're the lowest ranked team, and your 2 will play the next lowest. But for whatever reason, they're not doing it like that. So you could have, your 3 seed playing your 1 seed, and your 2 seed playing a 5 seed. It doesn't make sense to me. It's not fair. If I was the Dodgers, that would kind of get under my skin a little bit. Adam says they should reseed. Yeah, it just makes sense. I don't know why. It's not hard either. It's not like, well, we got to put in formulas or got to call in rocket scientists. No, it's I just did it there for you, and I'm a moron. So what are you gonna do? Say it just doesn't make sense. I think I heard that on MLB radio. I believe I heard that they weren't going to reseed, that they're just going to play it like that. It doesn't. It's lazy, if you ask me. MLB got lazy with it. I love the whole wild card thing. I love more teams in. Drums up more interest and stuff like that. So yeah, it's nonsense that they're not even reseeding. Yeah, you put all this effort in to get more teams in, and then you have a Dodgers team who kicked ass all season, could end up playing a 3 seed. Joe says no reseeding means 4-5 winner plays 1 regardless. Okay. So I thought it would be 3-6 because 6 was the lowest, and whoever wins that one. I'll have to go back and read that again. I just didn't understand it. Adam says later in the show, let me know your thoughts on the rule changes. And I was just, you know what, Adam, it's funny you say that. I was just thinking about that. It's one of the things I didn't put down in my list to cover in the show, but there is a couple things with the rule changes. Well, we'll do it now. Why wait till the end? I'm running the show here. I'm the bat fry. So it's like the one thing I don't like is the bigger bases. So I do like stolen bases. I like seeing more stolen bases. But with the bigger bases, I mean, like, because how many times you watch a stolen base and it's just an eyelash that they're out on, just an eyelash. You make that base a little bit bigger. I mean, I don't understand how they're going to get anybody out then, unless it's really obvious. I don't like you can only throw over twice, and that's another rule also. I didn't hear that one at first until I think it was 2 days ago. I heard that you can only throw over twice. And the third time, if you throw over, I don't remember what the repercussion is. If it's a ball for the hitter, or if it's considered a balk or something. I don't remember exactly what the repercussion if you break the two throws over to first or to whatever base. And also the shift, they're gonna ban the shift, which is I've been pulling for all along, because more hits, is more interest, is more excitement for the for your fanatics and stuff. Like your fanatics, your purists, they want to see the good defense, they want to see low scoring, they want to see tight games. But for the people like the occasional fan, or the fan that shows up once in a while, follows a little bit, they want to see the excitement, they want to see more offense. So I'm in for the shift. The only thing with the shift is it really pissed me off when I heard it, is they said teams are going to start looking to using two outfielders and using the left center and the right center, or whatever, vice versa, and then bringing up one of those outfielders into shallow outfield, or deep infield, or whatever you want to call it, to the edge of the grass there. That's how they're going to beat the shift. I'm like, oh, you're killing me with this. It's really frustrating, because it just seeing so many hits for so many good players getting gobbled up by the guy playing short field. It's like I coach youth softball, and up to U10 softball, you could have a short fielder. In rec softball, you could have a short fielder. That's what that reminds me of, is U10 softball. This is major leagues. What are we doing here? And another thing it brings up for me is seeing those awesome plays, like being a Mets fan, like seeing like Ray Ordonez. I don't know if you're a Mets fan, you remember Ray Ordonez couldn't hit for shit, but I'll tell you what, that guy was awesome at shortstop. It's just a bunch of the plays that he would make out of this world. Sports Center highlight after Sports Center highlight, fantastic. So it also takes away a lot of those awesome plays that you used to see. Adam says, so if a pitcher throws over twice, then a guy gets to steal easy. Yeah, so he could inch, take a couple inches more. And I think if the third time, if you throw over, he has to be out. And if he's not out, then I think he might get the base. It's something like that. Joe says these rule changes won't do much. You either like baseball or you don't. Yeah, and a lot of people. So the thing is, a lot of people's excuse for not liking baseball is it's slow and it's boring. And like banning the shift, that should get more excitement, more runs, more hits. More singles, but more hits. And I think also that they're going to implement the pitch clock, or like a stricter timing, or. So there was something with the pitch clock too, I heard. I don't remember exactly what it was, but they're going to implement something with that, and that's going to hurt some guys. Like speaking on the Mets, Mark Canha, he's a slow guy. He likes to take his time in and out of the box, and so that's really going to affect him. And so we'll see if he's able to adjust, or is he going to be one of those guys that's a repeat offender and strikes against him and all that other stuff. So. Moving on real quick with who's in first. I said this in many shows. I'll keep reiterating it. I just like I think Joe said earlier. As long as my team's getting in, I'm okay with it. Of course, I'd like them to have a bye in the first round as a division winner, but that's not why you're in it. You're in it to win the World Series. So you just get in the tournament, anything can happen. Adam says the pitch clock in the minors save 20 to 30 minutes off every game. Speeding up the game a little is a good benefit. I think, and so I agree and disagree, Adam. When you're in person, is totally different game. I tell you what, I don't get to many major league games. One, because cost, it doesn't cost that much, but it's hard with 3 kids and stuff like that. The cost does creep up. But I go to a lot of minor league games. We have a couple minor league teams really close to me, AA and AAA. And so I go to lots of the Reading Phillies, the Philadelphia Phillies AA affiliate, the Reading Fightins. So I go there a lot, and just being in person is so much more exciting. There's stuff going on between innings. There's stuff, the fanatics walking around or something like that. If you go out at a Phillies game, when you're at the Reading Fightins game, you have Screwball walking around. You have the turtle changeup walking around. You have the crazy hot dog vendor walking around. So there's stuff to do. But when you're watching on TV, it is a little bit more slow. It is a little bit more boring. So it does help if you're watching on TV. But I think in person, I'm there and I'm chilling. I could be there for hours and hours and hours. It's 6 hours. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. But on TV, I can't watch a baseball game unless it's the Mets. I can watch the Mets a full game, but I can't sit there and watch, let's say Pirates and Brewers. Just sit there and watch, okay, let's see what's going on here. I can't do it. I could watch them in person, but on TV, it doesn't matter pitch clock or not, unless there was something like, huge, something special going on with it. I wouldn't be able to do it. So we'll move on here from that. And we'll go right into Mets offensive woes. They've really been struggling. And I said it last show, and it keeps popping up. They're big boys in the middle of the lineup, not hitting with runners in scoring position is really coming back to bite them in the ass, just like last season. I'm not going to panic about it. I'm not a panicky kind of fan. I get irritated by it. Watching Pete Alonso constantly come up with somebody on second base and first base with one out and ground into a double play, or somebody on second base with 2 outs, grounding the ball to second base or popping it up to shallow right field. It's really frustrating. I'll tell you what, it's frustrating for him. I watched the other day him break a bat over his leg because he was pissed off. I think he might have had runners on second and third or bases loaded, and it's just a lazy pop fly to right field. That has to be extremely frustrating for a guy who produced all season. I mean, he's hit great all season. You can't take that away from him. 30-plus homers. I think he's at 33, 34 homers, somewhere around there, 108 RBI maybe. He led the RBI race all the way up until now. Hitting, 267. He's been hovering 260, 265 to 275 all season, which is good for a good power hitter, a big power hitter like him. But his power numbers have dropped off really drastically here most of August, and now it's carried over into September, and that's really worrisome. You want your hot hitters, your big hitters hot going into the playoffs. I mean, there's still a couple of weeks where he can get on track and stuff. But Lindor, also a guy who's had a huge year. Compared to last season, you give him that season last year, his first season in New York, you kind of give him a little bit of leeway with that. All right, first season, getting accustomed to everything in the media and all that other stuff that is supposedly tough to play in New York with. And he started off great, hit great all season, hitting for power, hitting, I would say for average, he's still hitting in the 260s, 265, 266, but he's another guy who's, hovering 265 to 275 home runs. I think he might be at maybe 18, 19 homers, RBIs in the 90s, great production out of your shortstop. That's beautiful. But now, again, the end of August, carrying over to September, he's really been struggling at the plate with his power numbers, runners in scoring position. And it doesn't help. I attribute some of it to the injuries that they were having recently, like right now, Starling Marte being on the injured list for the next 10 days. And even after that, they're not sure if he's going to be able to play with the fracture in his finger. Depends on what his pain threshold is. And so we'll have to see with that. But between that, Escobar was hurt for a while. Guillorme was hurt for a while. Those are bottom of the lineup kind of guys, but they're getting on and they're getting things started from the bottom of the lineup and flipping over to the top of the lineup. And it hasn't been happening as much as it was. Now those guys are coming off injury. Escobar is back a couple days ago, I think last week, and now Guillorme came back last night. And Guillorme's a 300 hitter. So, he was all season until he got hurt. He, played fantastic, great second base. And Escobar, who struggled at the plate, was getting hot before he got hurt. And when he came back off of the injury list, they don't call it the disabled list, it's the injury list, being politically correct here on Out of the Box Sports. Speaking of Out of the Box Sports, you can check us out on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and the old Twitter machine. Check us out, like, subscribe, hit that follow, all that other good stuff. Help a brother out. Anyway, back to the Mets not hitting the damn ball. And so with them coming back, I'm hoping that it kind of kickstarts stuff. You've seen, I've been riding the Mets catchers all season. Their catchers haven't hit for shit. I'm sorry. I've been cursing a lot, but it is what it is. I'm going to call a cow brown if he's brown. That's what it is. It's poop. And so with them coming back, the Mets catchers have really struggled all season. I've been on them, but now it seems like McCann has been hitting the ball hard. He hasn't been finding the holes yet, but he's been hitting the ball really hard. And Nido, not really, much for average or power, but he's been up and down all season, mostly down, but he's been hitting the ball hard also. So those balls are going to start finding gaps, start finding holes. They're going to start driving in runs, getting on base. So that's good to see. I still think they should move on from McCann next season. That's I don't know contracts. I don't know clauses. Who doesn't have a no trade clause? Who does? Whatever it is. I think they should still move on from McCann and see what else is out there. They have a couple great prospects in the minors. Alvarez, the top prospect, is a catcher. They drafted a catcher this year. I can't remember his name off the top of my head right now. So we'll see what they do with that next season. But we're talking about the here and now. And so yeah, the pitching, the pitching has been great. Some decent quality starts. Even Taijuan Walker, he had a decent start. His last time out, I think it was against Pittsburgh, which is it's not a great lineup and stuff like that, but it is what it is. And or was it Miami? It's Pittsburgh or Miami. And so the Mets need to keep need to get their big guys on track here. Jeff McNeil's been hitting the ball insane. He's within a couple points of second place now for second place in the batting title, and I can't be 100% sure, but I think he's 4 or 6 points away from first place now in the batting title, which he's really looking for. And if you watch this guy hit, it's insane. I mean, his bat is weird looking. I don't even know how to describe it. It's just like something he broke off the kitchen table. It's really just oddly shaped like that. There's no handle on, just goes straight down. And there's sometimes he chokes way up on it. There's like this much. It's hard to tell on here, but there's like 4 or 5 inches of the bat sticking out. He chokes up that high. Sometimes he separates his hands on the bat. It's really odd looking, but it's working for him. And whenever he starts slumping a little bit, if he has a couple loafers or whatever, he switches it up. And that's good hitters do that. And Cal Ripken, I mean, Cal Ripken wasn't a great hitter, but he was a good hitter. And whenever he would struggle, he would change the way he was holding the bat, the way he was gripping the bat. He'd choke up. He'd change his stance and stuff like that. It's really neat when you see hitters take different approaches like that are really visible to the fan to see. He's like, hey, what the what's he doing with his hands now? And it's just him just trying to break out of a slumper. It's pretty cool to see. You don't see it that often. Every player goes through it. Every player does change a little bit, but it's so minute, so little that you don't notice it. So when you do notice it, I personally think that's pretty cool. So with the teams that the Mets are coming up against, I have that written down also. So they still have another one with Chicago, and then they go Pittsburgh again, Milwaukee, which is very winnable, but that's the best team that they'll play against up until the Braves. Milwaukee, they have the Athletics, Miami, then Atlanta, that big series in Atlanta, and then Washington to finish it out. So it's a very winnable games, and not only winnable, but also good games to get your team right again. And you hear that, sometimes when you watch a lot of sports, it's a good game to get your team right. It's a good game to get your lineup right, or it's a good game to get your bullpen, rest, or it's stuff like that. Those are some good series to get your lineup that's been struggling. I have it written down here. Their last 5 losses. This is what they have been in with runners in score position. 0-2. And they only scored 1 run that game. They're 0-2 again with 1 run in the game. 0 for 6. 0 for freaking 6. And they only scored 2 runs that game. Then they were 1 for 3. They scored 3 runs. Now that 1 for 3, I'm not 100% sure, but that could have been a 3-run homer. I mean, it's ridiculous. And then 1 for 9. If that isn't disgusting, I don't know what is. And they only scored 2 runs that game. 0 for 3. And they scored 1 run. So their last 5 losses are 2 for 25 with 8 runs scored. Their last 5 losses. That's not last 5 games. Last 5 losses. I mean, if that's easily that's how you lose games. You want to learn how to lose games. That's what they did last season. They hit, for powers somewhat, but they didn't hit with runners in scoring position, and you're going to lose every time. You're not going to be able to compete with teams that have great lineups that score runs, score runs, score runs. Adam Glenn says, "You think the Mets are starting to choke?" No, I don't think they're starting to choke. I said this last weekend, Adam, last Wednesday on my show. I don't view it as a choke or as a free fall or whatever you want to call it. I gave the numbers last week. I can't remember what they were exactly, but I think since June 1st from last week, the Braves were like 61 and 20 something, which was the best in baseball. And the Mets were 50, 52 and 30 something, which is it's fantastic. The same thing with I think the Phillies had almost the same exact record as the Mets in that time period, and which is that's a fantastic record for over that. That's you average it out and it's 90 plus wins. I mean, most teams would kill for that for 90 plus wins. It's just the Braves have been that good. It's there's no way around it. I mean, in any other division, the Braves are ahead 10 games, 12 games, except for maybe the West. But even if they're in the West, they'd be right on the Dodgers' ass. They'd be right on their tail. So I don't view it as a choke. It does. I ain't gonna lie to you. It does suck. It's September and we're at it again. But I have so much confidence in this team. I love the chemistry of the team, and I haven't said that in a long time. Even when they went to the World Series back in 16, I think it was 15 or 16, when they lost to the Royals, and it was a good team, but I just didn't feel like I didn't feel like any chemistry. They're kind of riding, in my opinion, they're kind of riding Daniel Murphy's big bat, which I tell you, some of the greatest Mets moments I've seen in my lifetime have come during that season, at the end of the season, when they're fighting for playoff position, playoff spot, and Daniel Murphy just smashing the hell out of the ball. I mean, he hit some monster shots in big spots. And if you remember, the Mets had an insane starting rotation that year with Matt Harvey, who was at that time the Dark Knight. He was kind of on his downside. He had a couple great seasons before that, and that season, for most of the season, he really struggled up until the end, and through the playoffs, he pitched fairly well. But so you had Matt Harvey, you had Jacob deGrom was pitching insane, just like he is now. Actually, he's better now, I think, than he was then. I think maybe when he cut the hair, it did something for him. But he was pitching out of his mind. Thor, Noah Syndergaard, he gave that Mets pitching rotation back in 16 a certain kind of toughness, a certain kind of I don't care, I'm going to kick you in the face, it doesn't matter, which I think they are kind of lacking this season. But he was pitching great. Then you had Steven Matz pitching good. I can't remember who else was in that rotation, but just those four guys. I mean, that's one of the things that killed me with the Mets. I wish they would have kept Matz or even Syndergaard. I really like Syndergaard. I wish they would have kept Syndergaard just for his toughness, and I know he's going to rebound. I said this before before the Phillies picked him up, when it was just rumors. I said he's going to come back. He's just coming back off Tommy John surgery, so he's going to be better next year. He's pitching well this season. He's pitching well enough to be good, but next season I think he's going to pitch really, really good. So the Phillies, I'm not sure if they have him for next year. For some reason, I feel like they do. I think he's going to pitch awesome for the Phillies. And another thing that kills me is seeing Zach Wheeler with the Phillies, because he was a Met, and he was a great pitching prospect for the Mets. So it's one of those things. So I don't view it as a choke. It is what it is. It's a roller coaster all season, up and down, up and down, up and down. I said it 100 times. You get into playoffs, that's all that matters. Everybody's reset then, 0-0, go from there. And I love how they do it this year with it's a 3-game series. It's not a one-game playing game. It's a 3-game series. It's just like a regular series you'll have during the regular season, a 3-game home series for the higher seed. And that's what it is. Again, Out of the Box Sports, you can check out all of our content and all the live shows on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, the old Twitter machine we're working on there now. And subscribe. Please subscribe on YouTube. The more subscribers, the better for us. Share it. Please share the hell out of it. Like, follow, all that good stuff. And also, don't be afraid. Even if it's not, if the show was 2 days ago, throw some comments in there. You don't know who's going to see it. They might be able to answer it if they come back to that show and see a comment. So don't be afraid to comment on a show that's not live. So we're going to move on here to some minor league news. Mark Vientos, third base prospect, had a terrific season down in AAA with the old Rumble Ponies, or not the Rumble Ponies, Syracuse Mets. The Rumble Ponies are a AA affiliate, and he had a great AAA season. And they called him up, and he hasn't gotten too much time. His first game, I guess he's from the Miami area. So that was a big thing. But they started him against Miami. They called him up against the Marlins. And his first game, he was 0 for 5. And I think he had one at bat since then. I think that was 2 days ago, possibly. But so with Mark Vientos, they had him hitting DH. And the way Darren Ruff has been hitting, and the way my fellow Chubster Vogelback has been hitting, I just say, leave the young guy in. Let him get more bats. I mean, what's it going to hurt? What's the difference between Vogelback going 0 for 4 than Vientos going 0 for 4? There's no difference. So it's give him more shots. And see what he can do. Maybe he gets hot. Maybe he lights a little bit of a spark. With the veterans on the team, it starts getting on base and making things happen. So, but I think it's great when they call young players up like that, especially near the end of the season. Give them a chance to be, especially in the middle of a race too. A lot of pressure. You get to see how they handle that pressure. So it's good. It's good to see Mark Vientos up. Next season, I'd like to see him up permanently along with a couple other young guys. The Mets are going to have some decisions to make in the offseason. When the season draws closer to the end, I'm going to have to take a look to see who their free agents are, who needs to be re-signed and stuff. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but yeah, so it's great to see him up. And then Paul Spencer checking. How do you feel with Max on the 15-day DL? I'm totally confident that when Max does come back, he'll be fine. He's such a veteran. He's been around such a long time. I'd be more worried if it's a younger guy, if how he would bounce back. But with Max coming off of his, I think it's his left side weakness or whatever it is. I think it might be his second or third time on the DL this year. But again, I'm not too worried about it. He'll come back. He'll get a couple starts under his belt before the postseason, and I'm confident. It's nice to have him in there, but it's an old guy. Let him rest his old bones for a little bit. Dip that arm in some ice or whatever you got to do. But yeah, I'm confident. In Mad Max, he's pitched great all season. Some people were doubting that he's a little bit past his prime. Every time I watch him pitch, he pitches phenomenal. They're always quality starts. I love his toughness. Like I said before about Syndergaard, being a Bulldog back in 15 or 16, whenever the Mets went to the World Series. The closest we can get to it right now is Scherzer. I like his toughness. I like his he's kind of quirky. The whole one eye's blue, one eye's brown thing freaks me the hell out. I don't know about that. How you guys feel about that? It freaks me out a little bit. Whenever I see a husky like that, it kind of bothers me. I can't look the husky in the face. I kind of look around with Max Scherzer. If I met him, I wouldn't be able to look him in the eye. It'd be really odd, strange for me. I don't know if that's my thing or if other people feel that way too. But yeah, so he has that Bulldog mentality. He's a tough guy. Kind of like I said, a lot of quirky things with that lad. I like Scherzer. I'd seen a video recently with him when he was with Washington. I can't remember what it was, but it was really funny. He kept getting checked for illegal substances. I don't know how many times the lad got checked, but yeah, it's just really funny to watch. His eyes are rolling. Taking his hat off and he's balding up top and thinning and stuff, and the umpires are rubbing his hair. It's really strange. His hair's all sweaty. I mean, It's odd, but it was funny to watch, and that's just how good he is. Some of his stuff, is really really nasty stuff, and coaches, think maybe he's throwing a little bit of snot on there or something, or like old Eddie Harris from Major League, some Vagisil or something. I don't know. So and Travis Blankenhorn, the pride of Pottsville here. I know I've given updates on him in the past. I really like Travis Blankenhorn. I think if he were able to get a good legitimate shot, I think he could make it. He had a really good season down in AAA. Hit 260 plus with I think it was 15 homers. I think he had 10 to 20 stolen bases. I can't remember. I have it written down here. I should probably look at my notes there. He had 267, 15 homers, 20 stolen base, 20 doubles and 10 stolen base. He had a really good season at AAA. He was the International League Player of the Year in June, I believe. He was also the International Player of the Week at the end of June into July. He's a baller. He can be a baller. So I'd like to see him get a chance. I'd love it to be with the Mets, but even if it's not with the Mets, he'll get picked up somewhere else just so he can show what he can do. But recently, I think it might have been last week or the week before. I'm not exactly sure what day it was, but he was injured during a game, going back for a fly ball and ran into the wall. And I'm not sure the extent of his injury. That's one of those things I Googled the hell out of that and I could not find anything. So if anybody else knows anything, don't be afraid to give the old comment machine a work out there and let me know, because I couldn't find anything. I just said on the Syracuse Mets Twitter page, just said that he was hurt. He was done for the season. So hopefully he'll be back next season. Hopefully better than this past season, and really shows them, shows the Mets that he needs to be up. He needs to be he's a utility player too. He plays second base. He could play third base, he could outfield. So he can do a little bit of everything, a little bit of speed, and he's a big dude. So it's all that Gears iced tea out here, I think. So we'll move on from that one into Albert Pujols and Aaron Judge chasing home run history. And I said this in past shows. I love this. I love that whole history. One of my favorite things about baseball is the history of baseball. It's been played for so long, and so many neat stats out there, and some crazy ass names. I was looking through my baseball cards from when I was a kid. Not to get too far off subject here, but I was looking through my baseball cards from when I was a kid, and I have a bunch of early '90s, late '80s, baseball cards, and I had a set of black and white cards. From older players in the early 1900s. I'm not sure what company it was, if it was Topps or it was Upper Deck or whoever it was, Donruss, replicated them and stuff. So they're not old cards, they're, from the 90s. But seeing some of these freaking names on these guys, the one guy's name was Heine Groh, and there was a Pinky Whitney, and it's insane. There's scooters everywhere, and I love that stuff. It's neat to see. And anyway, back to the chasing home run history. Judge hit 2 home runs last night, so he's up to 57. I have no doubt he's going to pass 61. It's 20 games to go. He just needs, do the math. He needs 5 more, 4 to tie, 5 to pass. You see the smoke coming out of my ears from that math. The math is not my strong suit. But so yeah, I have no doubt Judge, because the Yankees they pulled ahead of the Rays a little bit more. I think I think it's Toronto. I think Toronto has passed the Rays out for second place in the AL East. I think the Yankees' cushion is now like six or 7 games. So they're a little bit. They can rest a little bit, but there's still a tightly contested race there. It's still 20 games to go. That's we've seen the Phillies catch the Mets, right? We've seen the Phillies catch the Mets years ago with the collapse in September, and it was probably about that amount of games with this amount of games to go. So it is possible, and I think a lot of those teams are playing each other too through this last month of the season. So, and that's the way it should be. The division teams should be playing each other the last month and a half of the season, to make it more interesting. I'm not a huge fan of the Mets playing the Pirates now, the Mets playing the Athletics and stuff, and the same thing with the Braves and the Phillies, the teams that they're playing. I want to see these guys go at each other. Washington, Miami also. But I think the last month and a half should all be division guys just smacking the crap out of each other. Whoever's left standing at the top of the hill, you're in. And that's how it should be, in my opinion. So Judge is up to 57. I believe he'll pass Maris. He'll get to 62, maybe 62 plus. And like I said before, in my opinion, I still view that as the home run record. That's the American League home run record still. That's the Yankee all-time home run record. But and it's nothing against Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds is a great player. He always was a great player. When he was with Pittsburgh, he was a great player. His years in San Francisco, he's a great player. It's a little bit with the steroid thing kind of bothers me, but it's just growing up, it was always Maris. It was always Ruth and Maris, and that's how I grew up, and that's what I like. So I still view Maris's home runs as a record, and so I do believe Judge will pass that out. And then we get to Albert Pujols, which I think he's been having a great run here in August and into September, where he's hit well over 300 with 8 or 9 home runs in that time frame. I think he has 19 home runs for the season, which is fantastic for a guy at his age. Said that this is his last season, no matter where he's at on the home run list. But he's at 697 right now, 3 away from 700. He's sitting alone, I believe, in fourth place now for the all-time home run lead. I mean, I believe he's going to get 700, and a lot of that is going to come down to St. Louis has a sizable lead. I think an 8-game lead there in the Central. Get that man at bats. The St. Louis also has 20 games left. Get that man in there, whether it's against a left-handed pitcher or right-handed pitcher. They've been using him as a specialty hitter mostly, and but get him in there against lefties, righties. Doesn't matter. Just get him as many at bats as you can. He'll get those 3 home runs, no problem. I have no doubt. And not only has he been hitting home runs recently, he's been hitting them in big spots. He's been tying games or giving leads to his team. It's really impressive what he has done this last month and a half, and it's awesome to see because I believe Albert Pujols is one of the all-time greats, and that's something that I have coming up in a couple minutes here. One of the subjects I'm going to be covering, but I think Albert Pujols is one of the all-time greats, and to see him get to 700 is going to be awesome. Then you have to. Well, I heard an interesting bit on MLB Network on the radio, and like who do you think playing now could get to 700 home runs? And it's you're really thinking about it. It's like, I don't know. There isn't too many guys you think and their one was the guy that they think that could potentially get to 700 or more, but it has a lot to do with his health. Is Mike Trout. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that because he's probably the best player of this generation, and he's going to be an all-time great once it's all said and done. It's just, is he going to be able to stay healthy enough to put those stats together to lead to 700 homers? I really hope he does because he's just a fantastic player. Kind of, pigeonholed himself there in Anaheim or Los Angeles, Anaheim, wherever they want to call themselves now. I don't know, California Angels. That's what I called them. And but yeah, he's kind of stuck in that muddy muck out there, and so he's not really getting he's still getting the recognition. Everybody still views him as the best, but I think if he was playing somewhere else, like a St. Louis or like a New York Yankees or New York Mets or Philadelphia, I would have thought he would have went to Philadelphia. He's a Phillies fan, I believe. So I would have thought he would have went to Philly before he signed with Anaheim, and so I'm really surprised by that. But so they figured the one guy that could get to 700 that's playing right now would be Trout. So that's going to be interesting to see over the next 7, 8, 9, 10 years if he can make a run at it, if he can stay healthy enough. And then we're going to move on to my power rankings. I do this every week. In past weeks, I would tell you where I had them ranked the week before, but I threw my list away from last week, so I don't know where the hell they were. I'd have to go back and rewatch the show, and I can't stand looking at myself for that long again. So I don't even use the mirror or nothing like that anymore. I'm pretty just the way I am when I wake up. That's just what I look like. Beautiful. So I'm going to start the power rankings off. I'll go from 10, work my way up to 1. Let me know what you guys think. If you disagree, shoot out there who you think is 1, who you think is 10, who you think shouldn't be on that list. Don't be afraid to curse or whatever. I don't know what you guys do. All right. Number 10, I have Tampa Bay and San Diego. San Diego's been playing a little bit better. Their offense is still, it still goes into hiding every once in a while. But I think they're starting to work their way out of it. I said that when they traded for Soto and Bell, and they made all those trades, that it's going to take some time for them to gel. I didn't think it was going to take this much time, but it's going to take some time for them to gel. It always does, and it's when they do gel, they're a pretty good offense there. They're going to be tough to beat. So I have them 10th with Tampa Bay. I know last week I had Tampa Bay a little bit higher. They got slapped around by the Yankees pretty good. And fell out of second place. They're still in the wild card. It's they'll make the wild card, I believe. They're a really good team still. Nobody goes to their games unless they're rooting for the other team, which is a shame. That's why they should go to Las Vegas. Speaking of Las Vegas, check out my other show, myself and Vegas Rob, the Las Vegas Sports Scene on Saturday nights at 8 p.m. Except for this week, we'll be doing Friday at 10 p.m. because I'll be camping on Saturday, and that's what we're doing with that. So at number 9, I have the Cleveland Indians, and they've been playing really well. They're holding on to the lead there in the Central. They have Chicago White Sox coming on strong right now, and the Minnesota Twins kind of faltering a little bit. But yeah, so I have the Cleveland Indians as my number 9 team. They've been playing well. They've been playing steady. I would say. I wouldn't say they've been playing great, or they haven't been playing bad. They've been playing pretty steady. They've been holding on to it pretty well because that central lead was it's everybody's had it. It's it's like that lady up the street. Everybody's had her. At number 8, I have a tie again with Toronto and Philadelphia. Toronto's been outstanding all season. It started off a little bit slow, but now that lineup is clicking. The pitching is clicking. They're in second place now in the East, still 7 games back. But my early season, before the season started, I picked Toronto to go to the World Series. I still believe Toronto's going to go to the World Series. I think they're going to be the AL representative in the World Series this season. So you'll have the Mets and Toronto in the World Series, and the Philadelphia. Again, I said it. I've been saying that since I've been doing the show. To me, the scariest team in the NL because you don't know what the hell Philadelphia team's going to show up. They look awesome some days. Some days they look like trash. It's if they get hot, they're gonna be trouble for a lot of teams as long as they can move on. 7, I have Seattle. Seattle's been steady. They've been playing really well. Houston ran away with the division, so there's no chance of them getting the division. But I believe they're either the first or second wild card. So they've been playing really good. Like I said, they've been steady. Julio Rodriguez has been awesome. Great young player there. Who knows? Maybe that's a guy that can hit. Get close to 700. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. At number 6, I have the Yankees. The Yankees have been playing better. And it's they swept the Mets in the Subway Series back after the All-Star break a few weeks ago. And even after that, they were kind of down. They go up a little bit and down, and up a little bit. So much so where they had a huge lead in the East. And Tampa Bay was able to creep back up in there where actually that last series this past week, Tampa Bay could have pulled within one game or even tied it. I can't remember exactly how close they got. But it was close enough where the Yankees had to do some spanking, and they spanked Tampa Bay pretty well. Number 5, I have the Mets. Again, not playing great. The last couple series, they lost the series to Washington 2-3. They beat Pittsburgh 2-3. They beat Miami 2-3. Now they're down Chicago, 0-2. So hopefully they can pull out a game today. We'll have to wait and see. Salvage something out of that series. They have to against the lowly Cubs. They struggled when they went to Chicago last time earlier in the season, so it's not overly surprising that they're struggling again with them. But this is not the time you want to struggle with the Cubs. These are the wins that you need to pick up, especially with the Braves. They lost I think 3 in a row, and the Mets were only able to grab a game out of that, and then the Braves won last night, so the Braves grabbed that game back right away. So they only have a half game lead right now in LA against Atlanta. At number 4, I have St. Louis. Like I said earlier in the show, St. Louis has been awesome. The last couple months, almost up to par in my opinion as Atlanta. They have a great mix of youth and veterans. So it's St. Louis is good. They're gonna really push some teams also in the playoffs. Atlanta at 3. You can't really say much about Atlanta. They've kicked ass since June 1st. Nobody's been better than Atlanta since June 1st. Even the Dodgers, who clinched the West, I think last night. If I'm not wrong, I believe they clinched the West last night. So they're the 3 seed. They're third in my power ranking. And then so 2, I have just like last week, I have Houston. I have Houston at 2, and they just like I said last week about the fat cat, getting lazy. That's I could see this happening to Houston. They've had such a big lead for such a long time that they're imperial forces. Who knows what's going to happen there? And I think Houston's going to get bounced out in the first round. They'll get the 1 seed out there in the American League, but I could see them getting bounced early. I really can. Even though they have a great team, they do. It's just like I said, the old adage, the fat cat gets lazy, and I could see it happening. So then my number 1 for the power rankings, drum roll. Again, I have the LA Dodgers. They've been awesome all season. They've just been outstanding. It's pitching, hitting, and Kershaw's been out for how long? I'm not even sure if he's back yet. I'm not even sure when he's coming back, but I know he is coming back. And they've just been awesome. It's the lineup. They have some big names in the lineup, but it's the guys that aren't the big names that have been doing a lot of the hitting. Just like Atlanta. Atlanta has some big names in their lineup, and it's just it's the lesser known names. Like Atlanta has pulled up a couple guys from the minor leagues a few weeks ago. It was like a spark, as a supercharge, and they've been hitting the shit out of the ball at the bottom of the lineup, and that's really sparked that offensive the Atlanta offensive output. So same thing with LA. It's a good team, good lineup, good bullpen, great pitching, but same thing with Houston. The fat cat gets lazy. So we'll have to wait and see. We'll wait and see what's going to happen. I don't think LA is going to get bounced early like I think Houston is. I see LA in the NLCS, and then my Mets beating them. And, of course, go to the World Series, win the World Series. I'll be running in the streets with no pants on. I'll keep my shirt on for obvious reasons because I'm a chunky guy. So I keep the shirt on. I keep my socks on. But there will be no pants. Just letting the neighbors know right now. Shut the windows, close the blinds. You don't want to see this, but it's going to happen. I feel it. So that's my power rankings, 1 through 10. I love doing power rankings. They're a lot of fun to do. A lot of fun to just kind of look at, like, oh, what about this team? Well, what about this team? I have a couple ties this time because I'm like, I can't. All these teams have been playing really well, so I had to get a couple ties in there. And so this will bring us to my last subject here, my top 10 all-time greats. So moving forward, I'm going to be doing shows every Wednesday up and through the World Series. Once the World Series is over, I'll go back to every other Wednesday as things start slowing down for baseball. But moving forward for the next couple of weeks up until the World Series, I'm going to do a different my top 10. It could be anything. This is out of the box sports. We do everything out of the box. So we're not handcuffed into one thing or nothing. I could say my top 10 favorite cereals. I don't know, stuff like that. So sticking with baseball for this week, I'm gonna go with my top 10 all-time greats for baseball. And this is my opinion. Who I always thought were the top 10 greats in baseball. But so I'll start off with number 10, and we've talked about him at length so far in the show. I have Pujols at 10 right now. I think, to be 100% honest with you, I just think it's the nostalgia right now. I mean, next season, will I have Pujols at 10 for my all-time top greats? Probably not. I don't know. but I'm just like I'm caught up in the moment with this. I think it's so neat to see. It's awesome to see. So I have Albert at 10. For a career hitting 296 with 697 home runs right now. Hopefully soon to be 700 homers. It's an outstanding career. He's been a pretty decent first baseman throughout his career. When he went to Los Angeles, Anaheim Angels, hit the injury bug a little bit, which players do throughout their careers. He's been playing a long time. He had some decent seasons out there, but like I said, the injuries kind of caught up to him out there. He DHing a little bit. So his production kind of slowed down out there. But he's Mr. St. Louis Cardinal to me. Nicknamed the Machine, for reasons, and just seems like a super cool dude. He seems like a nice guy altogether. So I have Pujols at 9. I have Stan the Man Musial at number 9. Throughout his career, hitting 331, 475 home runs. I remember growing up, I used to always say Stan the Man Musial. I don't know why. I don't know what it was. I don't know if I ever even seen the clips of the guy play. I was always fascinated by Stan the Man. He's another all-time great. He seemed like always like an all-time great guy too. Like I've read some stories on him. Just seems like a decent dude. I like that when you have big-time players like that or decent guys. Like you hear a lot of bad things about Babe Ruth, but yeah, I think deep down he did so much for kids that it kind of for me it kind of evens itself out for Babe Ruth. But yeah. Anyway. Number 8, I have Sweet Lou Gehrig. He hit 340 of 493 home runs. His big claim to fame is he was the Iron Horse. He played in 2,130 games, which was later on broken by Cal Ripken Jr., which that was another thing. I remember watching that game, when the game was finally official, Cal Ripken running around the field and stuff like that. It was really awesome to see. I'm glad I was able to experience that. On watching on TV. I wasn't there in person. But anyway, so Lou Gehrig, just another great Yankee of all-time great, and his career was cut short with we all know the Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS. Lou Gehrig's disease, but his career was cut short to that. So who knows how much further he could have taken that. His career, more home runs, maybe even a higher batting average. Who knows? But even with it being cut short, still had a terrific career. Number 7, I have Barry Bonds, and like I said earlier in the show, Barry was already a great player before steroids. He didn't need them. He would have went down as an all-time great. Maybe not my top 10. The home run, is what everybody wants to see, But yeah, even when he was with Pittsburgh before the steroids, he still hit some decent amount of home runs. I think I might be wrong, but I think he had 30 home runs the one year with Pittsburgh, maybe even 2 years. I don't know, but he's stealing bases. He's a great outfielder, a bit of a dickhead to the reporters, from what I understand. Which I'm all right with. Whatever. He wasn't very nice to his teammates, I heard, but again, does not affect me, so I don't care. So I had Barry Bonds at 7, 6, Mickey Mantle, and here's another guy. Real quick before I move on, Barry Bonds. I have stats written down, but yeah, Barry Bonds hit 298 for his career, 762 home runs. But I think one of the more interesting stats is how many times that man walked. 2,550 plus walks. That's insane. That's insane that he walked that much, but still had those numbers. It's crazy. So number 6, I have Mickey Mantle, one of my favorite all-time players. He was from everything you see, you read about. He was a great teammate, a bit of a heavy drinker and stuff like that, but a great outfielder, all around great player, terrific speed. Then the injury started catching up to him, really messed his knees up pretty good, and that kind of slowed him down a good bit. Or he could have been one of those guys that really pushed for 700 home runs. I think it's still considered by many to be an all-time great, but my list here, I have him at number 6. For his career, he hit 298 with 536 home runs. Again, being an alcoholic and bad knees, I mean, still kicking the shit out of the ball. That's awesome. Number 5, Ted Williams, one of the greatest hitters of all time. if not the greatest hitter of all time. I mean, Tony Gwynn was a great hitter. So those two were pretty much on par with each other. Ted Williams hit 406 to one season. That's the highest ever season batting average for a season. For a career, he hit 344 or 521 home runs and fought in World War II. That doesn't even make any sense, right? It's insane. That's how they did it back then. Ted Williams was, an old-fashioned kind of guy. He was a tough SOB. Purest hitters of all time. Number 4, Hank Aaron. Hank Aaron is mostly known for his home runs. 755 before Barry passed him. Was the all-time leader for a few decades, and but Hank also hit for average. I mean, I have him down as he hit 305 with 755 home runs. For a power, that's terrific. I think what helped him get to 755, if you look over his years, his career, is he was extremely consistent. Extremely, like he didn't have like years of hitting 60 or 70 home runs. He was just super consistent. 30 home runs, 20 home runs, 25 home runs, 35 home runs, 30, 40 home runs, and he played for a long time. Really great longevity. And again, it was a big step for African Americans in baseball. It was huge for the world to see, for America at that time to see an African American succeeding the way he was. People cheering for him and stuff. So there's a lot more to it than just baseball with Hank Aaron. So yeah, I have him at number 4. Number 3, which some people may agree or disagree here. I have Ken Griffey Jr. Probably the best player from my generation, all-around player. One of the probably the greatest Seattle Mariner of all time. Could be between him and Randy Johnson, but I believe Ken Griffey Jr. is Mr. Seattle Mariner. Got to play with his dad. I mean, him and his dad hit a home run in the same back-to-back home runs. That's what it was. The only father-son duo to hit back-to-back home runs. I mean, that's awesome. One of the sweetest swings you'll ever see. If you never, I mean, I'm sure everybody that has watched this or will watch this episode has seen Ken Griffey Jr. swing a bat before. But if you haven't, do yourself a favor. Go to your old Google machine there and type in Ken Griffey Jr. swing. It's otherworldly. It's how smooth and how sweet it is. And he just used to crank the ball. He was a great center fielder until the injuries started creeping up on him. Went to Cincinnati. Wasn't the same there. It just was not the same there. Would have loved to see him finish his career out in Seattle, but it is what it is. So yeah, I have him finishing out hitting 284 or 630 home runs. Again, I believe he stays healthy, even half of what he was. I believe he would hit well over 700 home runs. I think many people believe that when he was really trucking along in Seattle, he was awesome, stealing bases and everything. But unfortunately, that's one of the things, like you said about Hank Aaron. He was consistent. He stayed healthy. Year after year after year. It's Mr. Consistency there. Number 2, I have my all-time favorite player, but I don't think he's the all-time number 1 greatest. I have Babe Ruth at number 2. I love Babe Ruth. I played Babe Ruth baseball from when I was 13 to when I was 18. I just thought that was the greatest thing. I even called my shot the one game like Babe Ruth did. All the stories that go with Babe Ruth, real or not real, it doesn't matter. The myth, the lore, the nicknames, the Sultan of SWAT, the Great Bambino, the Colossus of Clout, all that stuff. It's fantastic stuff. And again, if you don't know his history, look it up. Was in a home for children, like troubled children, incorrigible children, kids that needed a little bit more discipline and stuff like that. Grew up there, and then it was a pitcher for the Boston Red Sox. He had more home runs than some teams did early on, and I'm not talking like he didn't have 60 home runs and teams had 50. I'm like, he had like 19 home runs. He had like 19 home runs, and some teams had like 16 home runs. That's how bad it was early on. But then when those Yankees when they caught fire between Ruth and Gehrig, they started smashing the ball, smashing home runs. With Babe hitting 60, uh, and hitting 60 and then 50s and 54. It was back in that time, it was something to see. And look at it. If you have a chance, look up Babe Ruth's stats and look up his records. Some of his records are absolutely mind-boggling. I mean, and so I see a lot of people saying nowadays, Paul Spencer checks in, love your list. All-time greats of my time, no order: Barry Bonds, Rod Carew, Tony Gwynn, Mariano Rivera, Cal Ripken Jr., Nolan Ryan, Ken Griffey Jr., Ricky Henderson, Ichiro, and Greg Maddux. So many not named, but warranted. Absolutely. And that's one of the things when I made this list, I really struggled. I wanted to get Greg Maddux in there, but I'm like, you know what? I think in the future, I'm going to do a top 10 pitchers list because it's really hard. There's so many great pitchers. Like this couple right there: Nolan Ryan, Mariano, Greg Maddux, just Randy Johnson, Walter Johnson, Tom Seaver. You can go on and on and on. But yeah, it's a lot of fun making these lists. I enjoy stuff like that. But Babe Ruth, back to Babe Ruth real quick. Just if you have a chance, look up his stats. It's some mind-boggling stuff. And a lot of people nowadays are like, well, he didn't face African American players. He didn't face great pitching like they do today. Well, you can say that about any era. Like that's just it's nonsense. To break it down to who he faced, the man faced who he had to face, and he excelled beyond anybody's wildest imaginations. If the Negro leagues and the major leagues were together back then, would he have those numbers? Would he be the greatest of all time? Who knows? I believe he still would have been. I still believe he would have been. Would he have been the greatest? Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know what the Negro leagues had. I mean, I'm sure if I looked it up, there's some names there I'd recognize, but off the top of my head, I don't know anybody. And but like I understand where you're coming from, but that's who he had to play against. That's who he played against. That's what he did. I mean, he transcended the sport of baseball. Baseball was a dead sport until Babe Ruth started smashing the hell out of the ball, and doing his antics, his celebrityism. I mean, back then athletes weren't really celebrities until Babe Ruth, and Babe Ruth was the first like celebrity athlete from the way I understand it anyway. I mean, he was as the famous saying was, he made more than the president, and his rebuttal was, Nick, I had a better year than him. I mean, Babe Ruth was a giant amongst men. It's my all-time favorite, but the all-time greats, I have him at number 2, and number 1 I have Willie Mays. I mean, here's another guy did so much for the sport, for African Americans and stuff like that. It's such a huge name after Jackie Robinson. The biggest name, probably African American name after Jackie Robinson, is Willie Mays. He hit 301, 660 home runs. And if you ever see a baseball clip, I'm sure everybody's seen the one where you have the player running and catching the ball over his shoulder. That's Willie Mays. I mean, it's one of the greatest catches of all time. And we've seen all these Jim Edmonds catches. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember Jim Edmonds, but he was a fantastic player, and he made some of the most insane catches you'll ever see. But I mean, Willie Mays, I mean, he played in a giant ass ballpark at the Polo Grounds, and he'd play short. I mean, he was a fantastic fielder, not only a slugger and stuff like that, but a fantastic fielder, super fast. Like Paul says, the basket catches, Willie Mays style. You know what I mean? You come up there, it's catch it. It's the old basket catch, charisma, and I think his family trees. I don't know, off the top of my head, I can't think of it right now, but for some reason, I feel like Barry Bonds might be related to him. I'm not 100% sure, but he has a hell of a family tree also of baseball players. But so yeah, that was my top 10 all-time greats. Like I said, don't be afraid to come back. After the show's done, if you can't watch it live, I'm going to share the shit out of it like I usually do. Don't be afraid to watch it again. Throw some comments in there, or even hit me up on a personal messenger. Let me know who your top 10 is, or say, hey, Fry, you're an idiot because Albert Pujols shouldn't be 10th. He should be 110th or something like that. Don't be afraid. It's I'm a big boy. I can handle it, or I'll just block your ass. I don't care. So now we're gonna go over the list of our shows that we have here on Out of the Box Sports Network. On Tuesdays at 10 p.m., Fight Club 215 for all you combat sports fanatics. Check that out. Then, of course, we're going to go every Wednesday up and through the World Series. 10 a.m., The Bat Cave with myself, of course. Who else? Then Wednesday nights at 8 p.m., College Football Frenzy. The hottest thing on the internet right now is College Football Frenzy here on Out of the Box Sports. Check it out, guys. Good stuff. Breaking down past games and the games coming up on Saturdays. Then at 9:30, you have Dem 215 boys for all your Dallas Cowboy talk. These guys, they're not afraid to tell you how it is, Cowboy fans. So if you're one of those soft Cowboy fans, don't even check it out then. If you can't handle the heat, get out of the kitchen for that one. Then on Thursdays at 8 p.m., you have Big Mike's 4 for 4 Locker Room Podcast, talking Philly sports, Eagles, 76ers, the Phillies, Flyers. The hockey season starting up soon, so check that out with Big Mike. And then on Fridays at 8 p.m., the Big Blue Power Hour, talking all your New York Giants. Giants pulling out a big win there this past Sunday, so I'm sure they're going to be talking all about that and about their game coming up this Sunday. Saturday mornings, 8 a.m., for all you wrestling fans out there, who doesn't love a little bit of pro wrestling, brother? Out of the Ring podcast, talking to AEW, WWE, ROH, and whatever other wrestling, who knows, maybe some indie stuff. Check that out if you're into wrestling. Then usually Saturday nights at 8 p.m., you have the Vegas sports scene. This week we have a little bit of a schedule change. We're going to do it Friday night at 10 p.m. So if you can't catch it Friday night at 10 p.m., but like I said, check it out afterwards. Watch your repeat. Like I Love Lucy. That's how good it is. It's you can watch it over and over and over again. If it need be, I'll eat chocolates like Lucy did. I'm good for it. I can eat chocolate all day. And I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, J Fine Law, aka Big Al, for all your personal injury needs. Call 1-800-HURT-123. That's 1-800-HURT-123. His offices are located at 1628 JFK Boulevard, Suite 2120 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. One more time, that's J Fine Law, aka Big Al. Tell him the Bat Fry sent you. For all your personal injury needs, call 1-800-HURT-123, 1-800-HURT-123. Offices located at 1628 JFK Boulevard, Suite 2120 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So that is it, guys. We got some comments here I'd like to go over. In 2 weeks, huge announcement here, guys. So stop what you're doing. Get those ears up and listen here. In 2 weeks, Fight Club 215 will have the 10th ranked boxer in lightweight division in the world. Trayshawn Wiggins live on the show. Again, I'm going to repeat this. All right, so listen up. In 2 weeks, the Fight Club 215 on Tuesdays at 10 p.m. are going to have the 10th ranked lightweight boxer, 10th ranked boxer in the lightweight division in the world, Trayshawn Wiggins, live on the show. Now, how kick-ass is that, guys? That's insane. That's they're getting a guest like that. So please check it out. Let them know what you think. Have your questions ready for Trayshawn. Really check it out, guys. It's gonna be awesome. I want to say thank you to everybody for checking the show out. I'll see you guys next Wednesday at 10 a.m. and let's go Mets.